Blessings, blessings. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing this morning?
I'm finding you.
Doing great. I like the topic that you're talking about tonight. I'm not quite. I know the shooting itself was not a good shot, um, especially just shooting in the way he shot in the face after saying he was going to do it, and he used very coarse language, uh, even after the shooting. Very direct, very direct language, coarse language. But I
Facts.
do have, but I do have something I want to discuss with you for tonight, though.
I'm listening.
Um, your Just for background, have you ever lived with someone? Have you ever lived with someone with mental illness?
Yes, I have a brother that passed away that had schizophrenia himself.
Okay, yeah, okay. So then it can be a challenging situation.
Yes.
I grew up with a mother who was had mental illness. What exactly it was, she was never diagnosed, um, but she had a way of dealing with people
Hmm.
that made it hard for her to conversate and to understand what she was saying or communicating.
Yeah.
She couldn't process information well. And she would always make every encounter go from 0 to 100. It was
Yes.
never any middle ground or logic. And after so many years, I'm sad to say this, but after so many years, is that it's hard for family members to be around you because you become taxing and you wear them down and you eventually wear them down and physically wear them down because most of us are trying to deal in logic and logical information and trying to process information correctly, but something in the way their mind works, they can't process information.
No, not all the time. And that's the situation I had with my brother. Like, I had to the point where I had to get the judge involved to try to get him help because at one point he took the help to the next point, he's like, I don't want the help. And then he just stood like that. He got surrounded with people that just wanted, they get these little checks, just wanted his money. So now I had a brother not just with mental illness, but with an addiction. So
Yes,
it got real difficult with me. And I needed support. My mom was passed away. She was the only one that could really, really calm him down and deal with him. Like, really, literally, the only person on this earth that can calm that boy down. But unfortunately, she wasn't around. So by the time the judge was gonna, give the order, my brother started running from the cops. He got catfished all the way to California. We didn't find him until we got called by the police department, the morgue in California, letting us know that it seemed like he was out of it. They didn't know his history like that, so they was asking me questions, and I let them know he was paranoid schizophrenia, but to like the highest level. At that moment, I was like, damn, I know there's a name for it, but I just can't say it. But he was up there with those that you really needed to hospitalize. Like my brother was at a point where, and it's a shame. Like I wish we could have helped him on time, got him the support on time, but because of the way he was dealing with the situation, it wasn't easy for us to help him.
yeah, and it becomes very difficult to help them because with my mother, she was just sane enough to where you couldn't get her committed.
Hmm. And some of them are
Uh,
like that.
and it was so hard to. So for years, it's like she would come live with me off and on, but then she would cuss out my kids. Like, I can't have you cussing out my kids. You either have to live by the rules in the house or you have to go. But logically, she's not gonna make the right decision.
Facts.
And so I gotta protect my kids first. So there's time that she's living on the street. So the point I'm trying to make is that what the thing that upsets me about this story though is that I'm not saying the cop. We know the cop was wrong for shooting the way that he shot her. I don't
Hmm.
like the way he shot her, but I don't like the family suing the police officers or suing the city.
Oh, the city. I was gonna say, I'm like, wait, the department covered this whole thing up.
Yeah,
The city, you're right. Okay, I understand what you're saying. The whole city. Yeah. Okay, there's a difference. Yeah, you're right on that
yeah,
point.
because it's now because you know as a family member how hard it is to deal with a loved one who has mental illness, and you know how difficult it is. That's one of the reasons why I think probably her kids and her family members were not living with her.
I think she lived with her son.
Okay, so I had the story wrong, but what I thought the story that I thought I heard that she lived by herself. The son that
No,
lived there with her.
her son was saying on the conference. He said the one night that he's not with her, that happens to her. She was trying to get help. For
Okay.
days, the mother was calling the police department. I think prior to herself calling, the mom was telling the police department she has schizophrenia. Please send somebody that's not competitive, somebody that's prejudiced. And she was trying to warn them and let them know. And boom, what she was trying to warn them about ends up happening.
Okay, so you got more information than I do. How old is the son then? Did it say?
17.
Okay, so
So
here again,
apparently she has sent the sons off. The man that charges her speaking was the father of the daughter. So she sent the kids off with the fathers, while she can get herself together because she was hallucinating and she was trying to get help. So I guess something happened. She got discharged from that hospital. So something happened in that hospital. The officer that shot her down is married to the nurse that was dealing with her in the hospital or something like that. So that they're still going deeper into that, and that's something I'm trying to get into because I myself feel as though something happened in that hospital. This officer knew her. Like, it's crazy. It's deep into the story. That's why I was like, why did they cover it up? Y'all went from saying a prowler killed her, then y'all told the parents that it was self inflicted. Then the footage gets leaked, and this is how everybody finds out what really happened. And then,
yeah.
boom, all this is popping out.
And that was my only concern is like it's like I if the son was 17,
Yes.
he's not old enough to deal with that situation.
Nope. You could tell. You see him like he's
Yeah,
confused
I
as
saw
hell
him on the
himself.
interview.
Like,
Yeah, I saw
and
him on the
that's
interview today. And he just looked like he was young, but I wasn't sure of his age.
yeah.
But I know as a 17-year-old young male, he doesn't have the information, the skills, and knowledge to deal with a mother who has a mental illness, and to deal with the cops and deal with that situation. The people that are old enough to deal with this situation, were not in her life. And sadly to say, just because I live with a mother who had mental illness, this
You
could have
okay?
happened to her. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just thinking out loud. This could have happened to her without it being a police officer. Because I've seen times and time again where my mother would just cuss people out for no reason,
Facts. But
threaten to
it's
hit
just
people, threaten to hit
crazy
people.
how this officer, just because she didn't say nothing bad, all she said was, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." That's why I'm sitting here like, why? How you react to that? Like, if anything, just call this in. You were supposed to walk out, call that in as an officer. That's it. Call it in. She's a little
Yeah.
paranoid. We suggest y'all get somebody, professional in here. That's why I'm like, you're trained as an officer to do this. Why would you pull your pistol out knowing that she's paranoid, threaten to
I
shoot
would.
her, and then actually shoot her? Like,
I don't
this is
disagree.
crazy.
I don't disagree that he handled the situation wrong. I'm not, I don't think the shooting was just. I don't think the shooting is completely justified.
Hmm.
I think he allowed some things to happen that he could have prevented from happening. Um, for example, if he was really concerned about the stove being on, it's two of y'all. One of y'all turn the stove off.
Facts. Like, ma'am, I'm
Um,
gonna turn the stove on. We don't want to fire to start something.
yeah,
But he
yeah,
should have walked away when Sonya and Massey the first time said, "I don't need your help." He said,
yeah.
let me get your ID." So she went
But I
into
just
the
want to say that
house.
though.
She went into the house to get the ID, and he went right after her. He should have stood outside. It's like
I,
this
I,
office, something's off. Like, we really missing, but we're not gonna know what happened until we hear what happened in that hospital when she got discharged.
well, so the police officer, because of his past record, he's going to get charged. With he's going to get charged. He's probably going to get found guilty because of his past. I think the only problem I have, I have no problem with him being charged. or if they found him guilty. I have no problem with that at all. The only problem I have is with the family trying to sue the city, knowing the state of their loved one was in. Um,
I feel as though they
that's
should
just
charge the police department.
maybe for negligence because they hired him. I can see
Yeah, that
that.
and then to try
Yeah,
to cover it up.
yeah, I can most definitely see that. Yes, I won't even argue with that point. But just to go out to the city, um, and then the other thing you just mentioned about the immunity, police immunity.
Yes.
I do want to touch on that one. Then I won't hold you up. I won't keep you up all night.
Okay.
The way I understand police immunity, the way I understand it is, you can correct me if I'm wrong. All cops don't get it. If you do something that's illegal on duty, you're not covered. Police
Okay.
immunity only works if you're doing your job and you make an accident on the job that's pertaining to what you're doing on the job. Because it's a high stress job, because it's high stress environment, you're going to get some things wrong.
Okay.
And so police immunity is only when you're doing something that's within the job duties of what you're supposed to be doing. If you do something that's beyond the scope of what your duty calls you to do, it does not protect you.
So that's what
That's
Trump
my
was trying to say in the
in the video.
Okay, because I was a little lost. I'm like, did he answer the question? Did he not answer the question? Because I'm like, yo, can somebody please explain it to me? Because I'm like, I feel as though he didn't. Like he beat around the bush, but that's because I didn't understand. Because I'm like, when you hear immunity, you're thinking he's trying to give immunity to all officers to get away with, a crime. Like, wait, explain this a little deeper into context.
Yeah, he was actually saying in that video, he was trying to say in that video, I think I can see why he was confused because the way he was answering the question. He
Yeah,
was saying that's not a good shoot. That's not a good situation. This cop, he was trying to say that cop does not deserve it.
yeah, I knew he didn't like the cop for it, but I'm saying,
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, but the lady's asking what's going to happen and in the future if an officer did something like this again, like do they get immunity? And then he just kept going into a whole nother conversation. I'm like, Trump, you're confusing the shit out of me again.
I do think that like my son went to school for criminal justice, and his plan was to go to school was to go to be a cop, work for the city.
Yeah,
And I'm so glad he didn't do it. Though. He finished school, but he decided not to be a cop, and I'm
there's
so
some
glad he
good
didn't.
cops out here. It's just that it's a shame that a lot of cops ruin it for the good cops out here. I'm not gonna sit here and lie, there's some good cops out here. It's just there's too many trigger happy cops that mess it up, and it's a few of these good cops out here. They should be noticed, but they're not noticed. What's noticed and what's given shine is all these bad cops. We don't really see the good cops.
I actually think there are probably more good cops than bad cops. I think it's the few that ruins it for everybody else, though. It makes it seem untrustworthy. Because if there were more crooked cops, I think we would see a whole lot more people. I hate to say that I'm not trying to predict any bad thing, if anything ain't bad on anybody, but I
Oh
think
no,
it would
no,
be
you
way
got
worse.
you listen.
It
You
would
got
be
your
way
own opinion.
it would be way worse than what it is right now. Trust me, if the majority of cops was bad.
You make a point though. You make a good point on that. On some real shit. I'm not gonna say
Yeah.
you're lying. That's why I say you're not wrong with what you say. Listen, man. Everybody has an opinion, and you can't get judged for your opinion. Like I tell people, can't judge you for your opinion because I got one too.
Well, no, I don't mind you judging me on my opinion. Okay, so like you could judge me on my opinion because I could be wrong in my opinion, and you may
But
help me see
see,
something.
an
You may help me
opinion
see something
is
in a different light.
yeah, it's an opinion is what you think, but we most kind of like thinking the same. It's just you see more cops that are good than bad. I feel as though I see more cops that are bad than they are good because I'm in the hood. Like too many of these cops out here, when we do call them, I've seen them arrest the victim instead of arresting the perpetrator. I've seen the shoot downs happen. You see, it's like, wait, where are the good cops at? Like, why aren't y'all sitting here thinking before y'all sit here and pull that trigger or just arrest somebody? So like what I've seen is more bad cops. So it's like you could have seen more good cops than bad cops where you're at. Like or
I grew up in the hood too. I grew up in the hood, lived in the hood most of my life, except for maybe
and
like the past 15 years. But I think the situation is though is that What have I think
But you're
you're
not the
right.
first person to say what you're saying though, because I've heard it like, oh well, in my community, it's not that many, cops that are happy trigger. Like we got
Yeah,
different parts of the hood. Like I'm in North Philadelphia, right? We got Northeast Philadelphia, West Philadelphia, South Philadelphia, and it gets worse in certain parts. Where in other parts, it's not like this. I've heard other people like, yo, the cops over here are good in this community, and I've actually seen it. So it's kind of like you got a point. I can't sit here and judge you because it's what you've seen.
yeah. Now I'm gonna go and say it's because you live in Philly. I'm just joking. Don't take this. That was just a joke.
No, I'm just
Nah,
like, listen, man. Over here is we spread it in different communities. Like if we're in North Philly, it shout the fuck out. But if you go to South Philly, it gets crazier. See my point? Like it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
crazier. Over there is always a war between civilians and cops. Whereas in over here is always some bullshit, but it's not as bad as South Philly.
I'm
So
not
it's
gonna hold you up,
like,
but I'm enjoying your conversation tonight. I just wanted to come up here and throw my 2 cents up here.
and I
Uh,
appreciate you for that.
yeah, and it was I think, but you got a good conversation going on. I'm still listening in the back though.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate you for coming up. Yeah, let me look at the big screen.
Blessings to you.
John the Baptist. Shout out to you. You got a page.
Blessings
You
to
can
you.
leave your link right there so people can come check you out.
I don't have a
I don't know.
page.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, I'm just up
All
here
right.
listening.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Appreciate you. All right, y'all. Thanks to I want to give a shout out to John the Baptist for coming up here. He had a great opinion. He made a great valid point. I like that. Great conversations. So shout out to John the Baptist, y'all. All right. But he made a great point though. He got me over here thinking like, damn, I'm about to start writing. Y'all know how I am. I take notes. Like he makes a good point though, because we is in different communities. It just so happens that the area that I'm in, we just got a lot of really trigger happy cops. They'll sit here and they'll shoot before they think. But there are communities where you have a lot of good cops and they show. They really do show. So he makes a good point. I'm not the only one that makes a point. I don't know, if people see what I see in my community, he has seen it in his. So, I mean, all communities are not the same, but we go through almost the same shit, almost. I'm talking about the crime